What has more horsepower than any MotoGP bike? A better power-to-weight ratio than any road-going Porsche, Maserati or Aston Martin? And more exclusivity than a Koenigsegg, a Pagani or a Bugatti? It's the Seabreacher X. It's an entirely new class of watercraft and it looks a lot like a shark. And it's the highest performance model in the Seabreacher range, which also includes dolphin and killer whale replicas. Every Seabreacher is hand-built to the buyer's specs. You can choose the paint, the extras, how many and where you want the video cameras to capture the action, the GPS, the stereo system, and the motor. And they all have wicked power-to-weight ratios, but the X model is the most finely balanced, has the most sensitive controls, and is specifically designed so an expert pilot can get the most from it and pull the most insane stunts. Originally built with big Wankel and big V8 engines in the early days, the best power-to-weight ratio and balance of the machine has been found from fitting the lightweight supercharged engines from personal watercraft. And because no one spends six figures to have less grunt, the most commonly used power units are the supercharged top-of-the-range models from the 260 horse Sea-Doo and the 300 horsepower Kawasaki. The one we tried was fitted with a 255 horsepower Rotax engine from a Sea-Doo RXPX. Now, to really put the Seabreacher in perspective, let's first look at its performance relative to some things that you might know. The essence of really usable sporting performance is not how much horsepower a vehicle has, but how much weight each horsepower has to push around, and how much force is required to change direction. What we're looking for is a low weight and high power-to-weight ratio. This chart, you'll find the extended version on Gizmag, shows the power-to-weight ratios of the world's best-known performance vehicles, and you'll see that the Seabreacher exists in the absolute stratosphere of sporting performance. It has a better power-to-weight ratio than a McLaren MP4, Lamborghini Aventador, Aston Martin 177, Ferrari Enzo, Ariel Atom, Pagani Zonda. If you jump into a car of this ilk without prior experience, things start happening faster than you can think. Start braking where you think you should, and you need to get on the gas again before the corner. Stick it into the corner faster than you dare, and you realise that it can go around much faster than you can. For the uninitiated, there's a period of time, sometimes a very long one, where you repeatedly attempt to sharpen your reflexes and reframe your perspective and keep coming up as less than the car deserves. Then we get to the Seabreacher's area. 300 horsepower pushing 600 kilos is 500 brake horsepower per metric tonne. That's just a smidgen less than the Bugatti Veyron, the McLaren F1, the Pagani Huayra, and the new, just released this week, Lamborghini Veneno. Cars with price tags well into seven figures. But the power-to-weight ratio only gives you an idea of the essence of the Seabreacher because those cars have big sticky tyres to transmit their horsepower and change direction. And the Seabreacher has a jet and fins. And it is a credit to the way nature has shaped the sea's most frightening predator that it handles like it does with 300 horsepower in it. It is biomimicry at its finest. Buckle yourself into the sports car seat and you'll find a set of controls more akin to those of an aircraft, because in essence that's what you are doing with the Seabreacher, flying it above and below the water. And thanks to fluid dynamics, you'll find the Seabreacher turns far quicker than any car or motorcycle or the traditional hull of a boat or PWC could ever manage. Gently squeeze that trigger and the Seabreacher begins accelerating at warp speed. It planes instantaneously and then begins skipping across the top of the water like a skimming stone, except at 50 miles an hour. It's quite different to anything that a personal watercraft is going to give you as an experience, indeed any other recreational machine available. And thanks to its shape and the semi-pressure hull, the Seabreacher can go below the waves as well. Then you haul back on the aircraft-like controls and whoa. It's a sensation you can't quite get anywhere else. Be warned that water at speed can be very unforgiving when you land, and it's quite different to launching yourself off a wave on a personal watercraft because when you land a PWC, Your thighs become your suspension, whereas the full race harness and the wraparound sports car seats of the Seabreacher mean your butt is anchored to the hull, and when it hits, it can hurt if you aren't braced for it. But you do, and the surroundings make you feel like you're behind the cockpit of a jet fighter, only there aren't any downsides. You're not going to T-bone the earth. As Seabreacher's creator Rob Ennis said to me by phone the day after I'd sampled the Seabreacher, even when you royally screw something up, it's never really life-threatening, so you can have all the fun of teaching yourself to fly without any of the downsides. It doesn't take long to learn how to make the Seabreacher sing, to perform barrel rolls, skip along on its side, turn with G-forces that make your head feel like a kettle weight, and just generally frolic with the carefree nature of a dolphin. The fellow driving in most of these videos is Gemini Watercraft Seabreacher X, and after witnessing his acrobatics from inside the Seabreacher, I asked how long he'd been driving it. His answer was just 15 hours. So you can see that if you have the aptitude for it, you can be very good very quickly. It's a bit harder in the back because the X can be flipped from one guiding fin to the other side in the blink of an eye, and unlike being in the passenger seat of a sports car where you can see which way the track's going and prepare for the G-forces you're just about to experience, the open flat water offers a blank canvas for a driver's creativity and insanity, and directional changes in the Seabreacher are so immediate it can be a bit like riding a roller coaster in a blindfold when you're in the rear tandem seat. It also gets a bit warm and stuffy if you're the passenger. Air circulation within the capsule, and it's a sealed capsule, is supplied by a fan under the dashboard, but there's no aircon fitted, and because it's a sealed unit, you wouldn't want to get water in, and you also wouldn't want to take on the additional weight and horsepower drag of air conditioning anyway. The intoxicating nature of having a sensitive jet fighter that can flick in any direction you wish allows you to shut out the growing warmth from the sun and under the canopy. But when you've exhausted yourself controlling this ballistic projectile, getting a lungful of fresh air is incredibly easy. You just let go of the trigger for a moment, the Seabreacher settles, hit the depressurised button, undo the locks on either side of a genuine jet fighter canopy, that's what it is, and this creature that was spitting fire and brimstone a few moments ago becomes docile and putters around like a carnival boat. As I've said, it's quite a different experience to a personal watercraft because you sit much higher on a personal watercraft and your centre of gravity is maybe a metre higher, and that makes a massive difference. There's no wrestling the beast, you just point it and hit the gas. In the same way that a go-kart feels like it's doing a gazillion miles an hour because your butt is just a few inches above the tarmac, carving turns on a personal watercraft is worlds apart from turning in the Seabreacher with your head at or below sea level and the incredible G-forces compressing you into the sea. In many ways the personal watercraft is a hot rod, while the Seabreacher is akin to a bare-bones sports car like an Aerial Atom or a KTM Expo. It's a no-compromise machine with brutal suspension that will loosen the fillings in your teeth if you insist on pushing it to the limits, which you will. The Seabreacher is built entirely to have fun at ridiculous speeds, and it feels like it's going faster than it is because of the rate at which the water hits the canopy and pounds you into the seat rises dramatically as speed increases. You never forget that you're inside a projectile due to the extreme forces you're being subjected to. And no matter how recessed your personal fun buttons might be, the Seabreacher will press them and keep pressing them for a long time. Some boys' toys are fun for a while, but it soon gets to the "is that all there is" stage. I can see the Seabreacher providing thrills for a very long time. It's a no-compromises fun machine. It rejoices in the ridiculous, performing tricks and subjecting your body to the type of G-forces you might get leaping a motocross bike or cornering a go-kart or bungee jumping. But it's safe enough to strap the family air in the back, and I'm quite confident that anyone could drive it safely with a bit of tuition. Motorcycles might give you more straight-line performance bang per buck, but you need years of experience to get anywhere near getting the most from a motorcycle through the twisty bits, and the consequences of making a mistake can be costly and painful and maybe worse. More so than anything else, the Seabreacher convinced me that we have not seen the last of new water toys, employing the vast means available to inventors these days. This is a completely new form of recreation with a fun factor that is completely off the dial compared to anything else I've tried. It's a cross between a Spartan bare-bones sports car and a high-speed mini submarine and a jet fighter aircraft and a personal watercraft and maybe a bionic shark. And the word powerboat doesn't seem potent enough to describe the feeling you get when you squeeze that trigger. You can buy a Seabreacher direct from the makers in California in a space and get it built exactly how you want it. All you need is $100 grand, a vivid imagination and a high tolerance to adrenaline. But there is another way coming for people of more humble means. The company which offered me this experience, Gemini Watercraft in Thailand, is about to embark on an endeavour to make the Seabreacher more accessible. Gemini distributes the Seabreacher throughout Asia and has plans for a Gemini Club where overseas visitors can fly in and stay at a Gemini affiliated hotel where there will be a complete range of boys' toys on hand for a real adventure holiday. These hotels will have a full complement of very exclusive recreational toys and carry not just the Seabreacher but several other toys you simply have to experience. The Jetavator, which is like a motorcycle on the end of a fire hose, and Frankie's Aparta's flyboard, which gives you the opportunity to fly just like Iron Man. I got to try both, and there's a feature coming shortly on Gizmag. But wait, there's more. For those hotels near coral reefs and with some underwater wildlife to observe, there's the Ego family submarine, which is a boat on top with an observation area under the water. Hotels are planned initially for Thailand in the seaside resorts of Phuket, Hua Hin, Pattaya and the famous holiday island of Koh Samui, and with the Chinese market within the company's distribution domain, the Seabreacher might move soon from being a toy exclusively for the mega wealthy to something within the reach of someone with a luxury holiday budget. It's an experience the likes of which you will never forget.